This week, hardy New Englanders were dumbfounded to learn the way the New York Port Authority deals with pesky snowy owls is to shoot them. Right, not shoo them, shoot them. Snowy owls like to roost on vast stretches of frozen tundra, making airport fields the perfect spot. So, after a couple of the birds flew into airplanes at New York area airports, officials ordered staff to shoot on sight. Yikes. Well, after a huge outcry from the Audubon Society and birders, though, New York has wised up, taking a cue from how Logan handles the issue. This has been a familiar sight at airports across the Northeast. Record numbers of snowy owls on the runway. Here at Boston's Logan Airport, officials say they have been tagging and releasing the owls for decades.
Every airport has their own procedures that they follow, and they will handle the bird population as the other airports see fit. This is just one way we've always approached the snowy owl, is to tag and release.
That wasn't the case in New York. Fearing a bird strike could endanger planes, officials at JFK and LaGuardia airports ordered the owls shot on sight. They reversed course after an uproar. Back at Logan, Smith says the number of owls they see on the tarmac can fluctuate, but so far this year they've captured and released 21. But sometimes it's easier to just scare them off.
We'll use blank shells in shotguns, for example. We use what we call screamers. We'll shoot blanks, which are a screamer, and we'll use pyrotechnic blanks in our shotguns as well, which would just at night will scare the flocks of birds.
And it doesn't stop there. Even the landscaping at Logan is affected by its wildlife inhabitants.
We try to ensure that the grass is cut at a certain length, not too high and not too short, so that if it's too high, actually birds and flocks of birds can actually hide in the grass.
And for this owl, finding another place to roost seems like a wise thing to do. All right, so why are we seeing such an influx of these beautiful birds? Henry Tepper is the president of the Mass Audubon Society. Welcome, Henry. Well, is there an uptick in them? Are there more now?
Well, this is a seasonal thing. Snowy owls and a number of owls in North America breed, and their range is high in the north, in the Arctic and the tundra. And snowy owls have a habit, not every winter, but a number of winters, of moving out of their range to places like Massachusetts. And a lot of times they end up going, just as you said, to landscapes that look like the landscape of the tundra and the Arctic. And so they end up going to airports. There are a lot of rodents. There are often birds. They feed on both rodents and birds. They feed on a lot of things. And they end up in places like Kennedy Airport and Logan Airport, but they also end up in our countryside, in open, windswept areas, and they're magnets for bird watchers and owl lovers who go to see them.
All right, so wait a second. I mean, they don't fly in flocks. So why is this such a problem for airplanes? I realize, and they weigh between like 3 and 5 pounds, and I realize a strike could be significant, but it's not like geese or other flocks where there are masses of them.
Well, you're exactly right. It's important to take bird strikes very seriously. We've all seen what has happened with bird strikes. But you're really talking about a solitary bird, and you're talking about very limited populations. So we take them seriously, and Mass Audubon, the organization that I'm the director of, working with Massport for many years, for decades, has a program where we live trap and move these birds.
How do you trap them?
In a pretty simple way. We use spring traps. The director of our sanctuary at Blue Hills, Norman Smith, who's kind of the expert and the kind of hero of this story in a way, has been doing this for many years. He's very knowledgeable, and he knows how to handle owls, very, very skilled. So he does the trapping and then puts them in these kind of cylindrical containers where they're pretty comfortable and pretty calm. And then we move them, first we take them out to the Trailside Museum and the Blue Hills Sanctuary where we band them, take blood samples, do research, and then re-release them into the wild at South Shore beaches, and they do just fine.
So could you believe this when you heard that New York was shooting these birds?
Well,
I mean, what?
I do think it was kind of a surprise to a lot of us. Again, got to take bird strikes seriously, but the idea that this was their solution did surprise a lot of us.
One bird at a time.
Yeah, and they seem to have backed off pretty quickly. They've now announced that they're going to trap and relocate the birds rather than
Not
shooting
before
them.
They picked off 3 of them, though.
I know.
But they're not endangered anymore, or if they ever were.
Well, you know, it's interesting. We don't think they're endangered, but this is a very special bird. I mean, owls are are kind of amazing species, and we don't know that much about them. We don't think they're endangered. The populations are pretty good. Their nesting productivity in the north is pretty good, but they face a lot of threats. They're poisoned. They're shot. They've been shot in Massachusetts, I hate to say.
I found a dead one last year.
You found a dead owl?
Yeah, and I thought somebody had shot it. It was huge. It had to be a great horn.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know, they have this very precarious sort of movement from their range to the south and back, which they sometimes do, but not always. And then, of course, you have climate change issues. I mean, these are tundra Arctic species. The ecosystems of the tundra and the Arctic have been seriously disrupted by climate change. So there's a lot we don't know and a lot we're trying to figure out.
All right, Henry Tepper, thanks for that update, and glad you guys are doing the right thing.
Thanks for having me.